All right, here we go. Let's let everybody in. Hello, friends. Welcome. Welcome. Glad you're here. And if you'd like to go ahead and put in the chat bar your name and where you're visiting from, well, we'll see your name. So just where you are in space right now. Be lovely to have folks just check in and say hi. And Jenna, do you want to go ahead and kick us off?
Absolutely. So, hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Jenna Kirkpatrick, and I am the manager of outreach and engagement for Evermore. Evermore is a national nonprofit, and we are based out of Washington, D.C. Our mission is to make the world a more livable place for all bereaved people. We are changing policies and practices within our communities and across our nation so that all bereaved people can achieve a healthy, prosperous, and equitable future. Please visit us at evermore.org to learn more. We will be sharing a special newsletter with you after this workshop, and it is called Evermore Voices. It will contain the recording from this workshop, the collaborative poem that we write tonight, the featured poems, and invitations to write from Rosemerry. I am also a poet and a bereaved mom. Every morning I read Rosemary's poetry, and this week the one that struck me was called Mud Puddling. Oh, heart, bless the wings of your intuition. You know it does no good to fly only toward the beautiful. Still, it is not easy to choose what is messy, disordered, dank. Perhaps it helps to remember now how much joy we once found in that cold, blackish mud. When we were fully covered, I remember how brilliant they were, our flashing eyes, our smiles so wide. My wish tonight is that the words that we share hold each one of you in community and understanding, and together that we hold this space for each other. Let's please take a few seconds for some deep breaths in silence to acknowledge all of our precious light and energy. Please join me in offering a very warm welcome to our gracious friend and Evermore Poet Laureate, Rosemerry Wahtola Trommer.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Jenna. And thanks every one of you for showing up tonight because I know that it takes a lot of courage to show up to say, okay, here I am. I'm willing to meet my grief right now. And or I'm unwilling. I'm unwilling, but I'm here anyway. That's actually all that you needed to bring was your willingness to show up. But maybe part of you is not willing, and that's okay too. You can only do this right tonight. I wanted to begin with one of the little poems that's been a guide, a guiding light for me. It's from Hafez, a version by Danny Ladinsky. How did the rose, how did the rose ever open its heart? How did the rose ever open its heart and give to the world all its beauty. How did the rose ever open its heart and give to the world all its beauty? It felt the encouragement of light against its being. Otherwise, we all remain too frightened. How did the rose ever open its heart and give to the world all its beauty? Sometimes it can be so hard to open the heart. I know how true that is, and especially in a time of loss. And so I want to invite you. I hope my hope for tonight is that it is like that light in the poem, the encouragement of light against your being, that touches that frightened place and helps you know, okay, okay, maybe I can open, maybe just this much, maybe just this much. So, welcome all the complex feelings you have for what or who you are grieving. I want to invite you to please put into the chat bar the name or names of who you are grieving, what you are grieving. It could be a person, it could be a beloved pet companion, it could be for our nation, it could be for the world, it could be for the planet. No limit to the ways we might be experiencing grief right now. And as we do this, I'll go ahead and light this candle and let it burn. If you have a candle in your own home, perhaps you might want to light one too, just to bring light to all the names that are coming in through the chat bar right now. Thank you. Thank you. I'm just looking at the names as they come through. Maybe in your own home, say some of the names, your own names out loud, and perhaps the names as you just give them voice. Sarah and Rick and Ryder and Susie and Ruby, Finn and Charlie and Hayden and Samuel. One of the most beautiful things that a friend of mine said to me right after the loss of my son, Finn, about 3.5 years ago, she said to me, he has given
He has
you
given me.
his love light to carry. He has given you his love light to carry. And I'm just thinking now of how we're carrying the love lights of all of these people who are being named, all of these places. So basically tonight, what it'll look like is this. I'll talk just a little bit here at the beginning. We'll create a poem together. Then we'll read two poems. One of them, I always like to have a poem that is about meeting the person or the thing that we're grieving, and then the other about our relationship with grief. And we'll write one of each. We'll read the poem out loud, we'll talk about it together, then I'll offer you some ideas for writing, and you'll go off and do some writing, or maybe not. You may not do any writing, which is also fine. Sometimes silence is the most important way for us to meet our grief. And I thought I'd just share this poem I wrote about my daughter, who would never come to a class to write about grief. This is called Talking with My Daughter About Grief. We lie in the dark and speak about anything but what I ache to speak about. Some part of me longs to find the words like searchlights that will help us find what we don't yet know we are looking for. Or like a black light that might help us see what is valuable right here but invisible to our ordinary eyes. I try to infuse my words with candlelight, but somehow even this feels too brash, too aggressive, and so we lie in the dark. And I let the moon do all the talking. Oh, waning crescent, you know when to shine, when to simply be held by the dark. So perhaps, like beautiful Vivian, it will be easier for you to meet grief without language, and I just want to honor that that is also really appropriate. There'll be chances to write, but you won't need to. We'll be reading the poems and discussing them. And as we do this, we're going to be exploring our own experiences, but we're also going to see that we are companioned by others who are also experiencing grief. And I just want to promise that tonight, none of us are going to write anything good. Let's just make our goal that none of us write anything any good, but let's every one of us try to write something true. If you're going to write at all, just write something true. There's no one to impress. No one will maybe hear what you have to say. There will be a chance for sharing, but no one needs to share. There'll also be a chance to stay in the main room and just have a conversation or listen in on a conversation about process. So know that we're going to create a space where everyone can stay safe. We're going to allow it to be very tender, and we're going to take care of each other. You can only do it right. You're going to feel what you feel, and grief is so different for every single one of us. And even from moment to moment, it can be so different. So the first thing I'd like to do is it's the same thing I invite us to do every time is to write a poem together simply by filling in a line, a little bit like a Mad Lib for grief. And the line is this: today grief is, and just fill that in anyway. Today grief is, maybe with a feeling, right? Today grief is lonely. Today grief is numb. Today grief is not here. It could be also with a metaphor, right? Today grief is a chair. Today grief is a river. Today grief is one lone goose walking across the yard. Um, so any way you fill this in, you can only do it right. And I'll just read some of these, maybe not all of them, but as many as I can, I'll read them, and then you will get a link to read them all. Today grief is flowing freely like a powerful river. Today, grief is recipes my mother left for me. It's angry, it's comfortable, it's hard, it's muddy. Today, grief is resistance. It's stuck in my throat. It's a vice. It saturates me. Today, grief is the call of the curlew. It's reminding me it has never left. Today, grief is my companion. It's sadness. It's full of tears from ancient melting glacier waters. Today, grief is pressing heavy on my heart. It's all over the map. It's present but not overwhelming. It's hidden like a lost flower. Today, grief is everywhere, everything, and everyone. Today, grief is at bay. It's a spiral walk in Taos Valley. It's bittersweet. It's maligned. It's a throbbing of anguish around my heart. Today, grief is a sigh. It is intimacy with my loved ones. Today, grief is puffs of colored wool. It's weary, it's wind in the branches. It's a bare branch on a tall oak tree. It's a walk through, finally, after all these years, a door. Today, grief is wild. It's the robin keeping me company as I do my spring cleanup. It's a flat, endless tundra. It's a hiding behind a big black curtain waiting to pounce. It's settling in sadness. It's a prayer said over and over and over and over again. Oh, sweet friends, I'm going to stop there, although there are many more beautiful ones, and I encourage you to read through it now. And like I say, you'll also be getting a chance for you to read it in its entirety when we send out the recording and the handouts tomorrow. When I first started writing after my son died, this was the phrase that I used. Today, grief is. And I just let myself do that. And I did it every day. And what I was able to see every day was this, that it changed, that whatever it was yesterday wasn't the same it was today. And that was very helpful for me. But it also continued to invite me to learn something about myself, about the grief, about the person I was missing. Um, so I just extend it to you for your own practice. Maybe every morning, every night before you go to bed, today grief is. Just fill in that blank. Or today, as we're doing a writing practice, if you get stuck or nothing seems to be working, notice that that little writing prompt is always available to you. Just begin there. Today, grief is. So, what we'll do, we're going to put the poems up on the screen, and the first one we're going to share is by my friend James Cruz, and I'm going to invite two people to read the poem. So you'll hear the poem twice. And um, so if you could, I'm not able to see you raise your hands, so I'm going to invite you, please, to use the reactions bar, which is down at the bottom. If you look at the bottom of your screen, it should say react, and then you'll see you can raise your hand. And Marie Eaton, I see that your microphone is off, so maybe that's you volunteering to read. I'm not sure about that.
Yes.
Great, thank you for doing that. And I'll need just, and Aida, thank you so much for also volunteering. So friends, what'll happen is that they're going to read the poem, excuse me, just once. So you'll hear the poem twice, and then we'll have a conversation about it. And the conversation is going to really just be if you could underline any word or phrase or image, what is standing out to you? Or the other way you might want to think about it is what's rising up in you, and you could share that also. All right. So, Marie, if you would read first, and then Aida the second time. The first time I like to think of us reaching toward the poem with like we're listening hard, we're listening with our whole body. But the second time, I like to imagine the poem is doing all the work, and I just lean back and receive it and don't try at all. All right, take it away, Marie.
Be Careful by James Cruz. Be careful and watch your back, my mother used to say, each time I stepped out the door, left her for the airport and the long trip back home. Now I look over my shoulder, expecting to find her there, leaning on her purple cane, oxygen tube trailing as she inches forward. Out of the 60,000 thoughts I will have today, let this one live at the forefront of my mind. Her love will never die. And out of the 600,000 words in English, let mother be the one that I carry with me through the difficult hours, like a stone to rub over and over, looking up into my rear view mirror to see who or what might be following me.
Sweet Aida, you're still on mute there, friend.
Okay, there we go. Yeah. Be careful and watch your back. My mother used to say each time I stepped out of the door, left for the airport and the long trip back home. Now I look over my shoulder, expecting to find her there, leaning on her purple cane, oxygen tube trailing as she inches forward. Out of the 60,000 thoughts I will have today, let this one live at the forefront of my mind. Her love will never die. And out of the 600,000 words in English, let mother be the one that I carry with me through the difficult hours, like a stone to rub over and over, looking up into my rear view mirror to see who or what might be following me.
Beautiful. Thank you, Aida. Thank you, Marie. And I'm going to invite you again. Just you're going to need to use the reactions bar because I won't be able to see your hand. So, just what do you notice about this poem? Any phrase or word that stands out to you or idea? Or what do you notice about yourself as you respond to this poem? And Charlotte.
I love James. What's really landed for me was the 60,000 thoughts and the 600,000 words in English, and how he's making the choice to focus on her love and his mother. And it's just a powerful reminder that we all have that choice of how we speak and how and what thoughts we choose.
Wow, that's really beautifully said. And he really does. He just really does bring it right in and say, this is what I want to think about. This is what I want to remember. This is what I want to carry with me. Yeah. Yeah, beautiful. And that phrase, right? Her love will never die. What a comforting, comforting phrase. Yeah, thank you so
And
much.
so true. Yeah. Thank you.
Nalini, and please do say if I didn't say your name right.
No, that's good, Rosemary. Melanie. It's just like Melanie with an N.
Okay.
Um, yeah, this made me realize, like we all have like a certain catchphrase we tell our kiddos, especially when they leave. And be careful, drive slowly, be safe. Those are like mine that I would tell my sons as they walk out the door. And so that resonated with me. It also makes me think of in this poem, it's like her love will never die. It's like the echo of the mom lives on in the poet, in the narration. Um, and so that is kind of comforting. Also, I think to know that sometimes even when the person is not there, in the words we may say ourselves or the words that are said to us in our head, like they remain, which is what he's talking about. So it was very powerful. I could resonate with it.
Oh yeah. I mean, we do know this experience, right? That and the whoever, as mothers, yes, I think we do tend to have these phrases, but no matter who the beloved is, the chances are that they have some phrase that they say or, something that they do that when we do it, yes, every time it brings them back to us. Thank you so much, Melanie. And Susan, and then, oh, Susan Ahi, and then, oh, maybe Al, and then Susan Sear.
Thank you. Yes, it's Susan All. What resonated for me was like a stone to rub over and over. It's comforting. Here's the stone that was in my pocket as I was reading this poem. It was comforting to me to think about how many others may be out there with a stone in their pocket, or a figurative stone that they're carrying with them that they rub, as a reminder or as a comfort in some way. So it made me feel, it was a reminder of being part of a larger collective of people who understand, their own version of grief and maybe carry it like a stone to rub over and over. So,
Yeah. Wow, Susan, that's really beautiful. I always think half of a poem is the poem, half of the poem is the person reading it. And for you to literally have another stone in your pocket and one that you touch and to know then what that each of us touches in some way, either literally or metaphorically, that smooth stone of loss, or maybe a rough stone of loss, but that we're carrying that small weight. And yes, the community of it. Thank you so much for that. Susan Sear and then Deborah Hoover.
Hi, Rosemary. Yes, this is a sweet poem, and I think what touches me most about this is that this is a sort of uh, it might even be taboo the way that she is telling him to, be afraid. There might be somebody or something out to get you, and even that from his mother is beloved and worth celebrating in a poem because he knows that even those admonitions to be careful in the world might be in some sense might be not a great thing to say to a child, and in another sense it's all she's saying is I love you dearly, I love you forever, and that's what comes through. So I love that.
Beautiful, beautiful. That he's able to interpret it no matter what as I love you, right? That
Yeah,
is how she's saying, I care for you, I love you. It comes out as be careful.
and
But
her own fragility, because clearly by the time he's having this this moment about his mother, she's elderly perhaps and walks with a cane and has oxygen. And so there's just fragility galore in this poem, and it's very dear, very dear.
yeah,
Thanks.
I do think I see where you're coming from. I think that he's looking over his shoulder, expecting to see her. I'm pretty sure he did write this after she died, but so there's
Oh,
still this expectation. Even, and you know how this is true, right? I mean, I think all of us have probably had this kind of experience where in a certain circumstance, you're almost like, oh, of course they're going to, oh no, they're not here. The
oh yeah,
heart rises
sure.
up like, oh, they'll be, oh no, they won't be.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I think that's kind of where he's
Yeah.
coming from.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
She'll be, oh, she's not. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Deborah and then Susan Francis Field.
I love this poem. It's such a tribute to his mother, and I feel him introducing her to us. And I really like the way he began with the title, Be Careful, and also as the beginning of the poem. And then he ends with the image of her looking into his rearview mirror to see who or what might be following me. So, like, to think of two bookends in the poem. And I feel like he's introduced us to her in such a special way. And he also tells us she has her oxygen tube. So we know she has that challenge. And he not only tells us she has a cane, but he says it's a purple cane. So that gave me a little feeling about her because I would imagine it's not so easy to find a purple cane. Maybe she even painted her cane, or maybe he painted it for her. So I love the information that he gave us, just made a wonderful, wonderful poem. Thank you.
Oh, yes, Deborah, this is such a beautiful point that like we get to know her through the poem, right? He revivifies her through these details, what she says, what she carries, how she moves. And I know for a fact for myself, this has been so helpful for me as I grieve my son, as I grieve my father, as I grieve some of my beloved friends, to write a poem to them or for them or about them. It does bring them back. It's an honoring of them. And by the way, not just the relationships we love, but the relationships, the parts of the relationship that are very difficult also, right? And I think bringing that kind of full bodied picture, the whole picture of someone, um, can be so helpful for us too, right? To notice this is what was hard and this is what was beautiful. Maybe it was difficult for her to say, be careful, be careful, be careful. And yet, what he interprets, she loves me. Her love for me will never die. I love that you bring this in, that this is how we celebrate their life, how we introduce them to the rest of the world, but really how we remember them in ourselves. Yeah. Thank you, Deborah.
Thank you.
Susan, then Deb, then Holly. I'm guessing that's all we'll have time for.
Susan?
Yes, please.
Oh my goodness, my mind. Or I'm ready to say something, and then so many other thoughts are coming forth. And the poem is so beautiful. And yet, I can't put my person. I can't find my person. She died November 21st, my partner of 47 years, and I was her caregiver for 3. And I don't know. I always figured I was so spiritual and bodies didn't matter because we were soulmates. And now, this is the first time in my whole life that I miss a body. And we were so close for many years because we did undergo childhood trauma and we did have to leave our bodies in order to survive. And yet, now it's like I've come into body and I have so much hurt. Oh, maybe I can't believe she's gone. She does come in the front door, however. Dressed in, she's an artist, I'm a poet, dressed in denim blue, her hair white and glimmering. And yet, and yet, oh my, I hurt.
Oh, Susan, thank you. So a few things come to mind. One, I just want to say, I hear you. I hear you. And it's not one of the invitations I was going to offer, but just from what I heard you saying, a poem might begin, I miss your body. I miss
Really?
your body. And just begin a letter to her I miss your body, and tell her what you miss and what a surprise it is. I'm so surprised. I miss your body.
Thank you so much. I was so afraid to say that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Susan.
Thank you.
Oh, and Deb.
Hi. I was captured by the both images of looking over my shoulder and rear view mirror of how memory is so much a looking back and also a bringing it forward with the worry stone. That's what made the stone to rub reminded me of that some people have worry stones. And he rubs it over and over and looks into his rear view mirror, which brought me back to be careful, watch your back as to who or what might be following me.
Yeah, really beautiful. And just the way those two things hold the poem, really, right? Just how these words, be careful, and then him just really wondering about, oh yeah, that's what she said, and now him still listening to her advice, even now. Yeah, beautiful. Thank you so much for that. And Holly, this will be our last comment before I offer some ideas for writing.
Okay. I'm struck before my mom died. She was always the person I'd pick up the phone and call when I was troubled or sad or upset about something. And so what resonated with me was the expecting to find her there. You know, you still have that desire to pick up the phone, even though they've been gone for years. And then I tie that directly to let mother be the one that I carry with me through the difficult hours. So bringing her into my pain in a spiritual way, in a meaningful way, and hearing her say baby girl, which is what she used to call me, somehow makes the difficult hours easier.
Yes, yes, beautiful. Bringing her in even now. And letting that be part of what makes the difficult, even though the difficulty is partly, in the loss of her, right? So there's something kind of ironic and so beautiful about that. Thank you, Holly. So friends, I'm going to offer a few ideas for you to do some writing on your own right now. Before we do, I'll just say this, that like I said before, maybe you write something, maybe you don't. If you just show up and wonder, that I'm going to do right now an impersonation of me writing. This is, I don't know if you can see my picture, but if you can see me on the screen, I'm going to show you what it looks like when I write. I bet 90% of the time it's just me sitting there, not writing. And if that's what your writing looks like tonight and you don't write a single word, this is totally fine. And if you do write something, this is also totally fine. And I invite you to write something true. Just invite yourself, what is the next true thing? Don't try and sound good. Don't try and make it pretty. Just what is the next true thing? So I'm going to go ahead. What you have already, the poem is in the chat bar, but I'm going to go ahead and ask Keisha to put it back in. And I also just put some of these writing prompts that I'm about to say. They're in the chat bar and they'll also come up on screen. And here are some ideas. One idea would be, what phrase or word did the person you are grieving used to say? And how has that phrase or word followed you? And when does it float into your mind? And write about how their words still stitch themselves into your thoughts. Or here's another idea. What are some ways you keep the one you love are grieving alive in your daily life? How do you invite them in? How do you sense them nearby? Are there times you wish they would not be as present? Or begin, sometimes I expect to see him, or sometimes I expect to see her or them, and just follow out of that. Um, it is, you get no bonus points for using any of these. If none of them are lighting you up, do something that does. Perhaps going back to that initial prompt, today grief is. We're going to take 15 minutes, so we'll come back at 50 minutes after the hour. And whatever you do, friends, you can only do it right. We'll see you back in 15 minutes. And I'll give you a 1-minute warning. A little less than a minute. Mhm. Welcome back. And Keisha, if you would please go ahead and put it on group view. Thank you. By the way, friends, we are so lucky to have Keisha here with us tonight. Even though she's on a work trip, she's still here helping us out. And I just want to give a shout out to Keisha's organization, which is Teaching for Change. You can find them at teachingforchange.org, and they are promoting social justice beginning in the classroom. And I'm so grateful that not only for the work that they do, but also so grateful for Keisha's help with us tonight. Thank you for being here, Keisha. And there, she put it in the chat bar if you want. So we have some chance. We have a chance sometime right now to talk about what you noticed about your process. So this is not sharing what you wrote. It's not reading what you wrote, but it's talking about what did you notice about yourself as you showed up to write? Were you surprised? Was it difficult? Did you get stuck? Beatrice, thank you for jumping right in. Oh, you're on mute still, friend. Here, you're still on mute.
I started to smile because I was recalling some of the really wonderful things that he used to say.
Oh, right, right. So there was this joy just in bringing it back.
Yep.
This is one of the things that I love about writing poems is that can be one of those glorious side effects of writing a poem is just that, oh, and it lights us up.
Yeah, and not only that, it's in the present that I'm using some of the things that he used to say.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Beatrice. Thank you for sharing. Charlotte and then Tracy.
What was surprising for me is I I know I feel really connected to my son, and I connect to him through the pen writing. But when I started making the list of all the many ways that I allow him to be a part of my life, I invite him in to be a part of my life. I mean, it's just like I mean, the list just got really, 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 really long, and it made me happy. Um, of course, I'm going to cry as I say I'm happy, but it was rich. So thank you.
Yes, what a beautiful noticing. And yes, of course we cry. Of course we cry and we're happy, right? Yeah, and thank you for just speaking to that strange and beautiful and astonishing paradox that we can be both devastated and happy at the same time. Thank you for that. Tracy, and then Karen. Hi, Tracy.
I felt some discomfort because I didn't have anyone I was grieving. Despite losing both my parents and a friend, there was not much love in any of those relationships, though there is love in some of my current relationships. I was grieving disabilities because I've been ill for 49 years and not able to do and contribute as much as I want to. But then what surprised me most was it went into grieving our country and and what it could have become, and grieving our world, the awful things that are going on in it, and grieving the earth and what we're doing to it. And I felt tremendous pain about all three of those.
Yeah, thank you, Tracy. Thanks for bringing that in. You know, our grief's far beyond just people. There's so many things happening in our world today. Also, just really honoring that sometimes when someone has left and it was these were very difficult relationships. I mean, sometimes the grief is, I hear you almost saying that you're grieving, not grieving, you know, that there's nothing there to grieve, right? So there's this gets
Grieving that grieving that there wasn't the love there that I wish was there.
yeah, which is an enormous grief, which is an enormous grief. Yeah, thank you for bringing that in. Thank you, Tracy. And Karen, and then Kimberly.
Rosemary.
Yes.
Hey, it's Jenna. We've had a couple of people just wondering if you could please speak a little bit louder and maybe turn your volume up a little bit.
Let's see if thank you for that.
Thank you so much. Sorry.
No, thank you. I'm sorry it took so long is that better? Does that sound better?
Yes.
Oh, good. So
thank you. Thank you.
Good job speaking up, friends. Okay, so we have Karen and then Kimberly.
Yeah, so I was surprised because maybe like many of you, I don't know, the first thing, was like, well, I'm not gonna have anything to write about. Well, that's okay, Rosemary. So we weren't writing anything good anyway. So I just put pen to paper and it just pours out like um I had to get a new pen because I couldn't stop writing and I didn't maybe know the angle well that I've been having like dreams and nightmares, so that's what I end up writing about. But I didn't know that that really needed to come out, and I haven't been able to really speak about it, so I feel like something in the writing was very freeing and I appreciated it, and I was like, oh, who wrote that? You know? But yet I knew it was right here.
Oh,
So
yeah.
thank you.
Isn't that, it's always amazing to me, Karen, what does show up, right? Every time we sit down to a blank page and it can be intimidating, like what if nothing happens? Sometimes nothing happens. This is really okay. But sometimes we sit down and yeah, it just pours out. Sometimes that, and what comes out, we can be like, oh, really? That's what's here? I hear you talking about nightmares. And my goodness, friend, you know, sometimes, I mean, we all know, every one of us knows that it can be terrifying sometimes what comes out on the page. It can be really a lot, right? This is why I think that writing is one of the most courageous things we can do. You all are so courageous for showing up. Oh my goodness. So just knowing that that's possible, knowing that sometimes what comes out, and if it's too much, you could be like, okay, not now. You don't have to, just because it shows up, if it's too much, you can say not now. And also this pleasure that you just spoke of, Karen, where you're like, oh my goodness, this is happening, and here it is, and it just comes up, and it can really surprise us. And this, of course, is such a gift to ourselves. Thank you for sharing all of that. Kimberly, then Deb, and I'm guessing that's all we'll have time for.
Well, this was a huge surprise for me. And I'm so glad I'm here. I've wanted to write for so long about Annie. And I don't, and I've tried, and then I get stuck and I don't continue. And when this came up, I thought, okay, I'm just going to show up. And I love how you gave us permission to just write or not write, whatever happens, kind of like it is with our grief, right? However it is or what I found for me, that's where I'm at, whatever it is. So as far as the process, I was so surprised because I was thinking not of a word or a phrase, but a sound that my daughter would make. So I started my sentence just, remembering how she would make this sound. And then the process, I just wrote sentence after sentence, and the format was like started here, and then my page went here, and then I'd go back. So I was just completely surprised about just kind of how it organically happened. And I have a page that I didn't know was going to come out the way it did. So I finally feel like the floodgates have been opened. They opened today, certainly. And it just feels like I've had this pent up desire to write, and this time here together has been the catalyst. So that was my experience. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Kimberly. Thank you for sharing that. I love hearing you say even just that you're a little surprised about what it looks like even on the page. My beloved mentor, Jack, used to say in a very gruff voice, obey the poem's emerging form. And I hear that that's what you did. You obeyed the emerging form. So that's beautiful. I just want to also honor that sometimes it's the opposite. In the chat bar, I see Barbara saying, I thought I would want to write, but I decided I wanted to listen instead. Just noticing that you can only do this right? Whether you're writing and you surprise yourself or you don't write and that surprises you. Like just really letting ourselves show up however we show up. And Deb, this will be our last comment.
Yeah, I began writing in prose to answer one of the questions, and then that ended, and so I imitated you and I closed my eyes and I just looked up, and then images just started flooding in, and then I could put those images into words, and that it was a poem.
Isn't this gorgeous? So you had this experience, one kind of experience, you paused, right? And I think that pause is always so interesting when we let ourselves just pause and what comes in then, and having a very different experience. And by the way, poetry, schmoetry, whatever you're writing, it doesn't matter what you call it. Especially if the word poetry is intimidating for you, for heaven's sakes, then don't call it that. Just call it writing. But it doesn't matter. Prose, poetry, journal, and I mean, really, truly, it doesn't matter. I did see one person also had a question about how do you touch these very difficult moments. There was a writing invitation I used to give myself that was like, I don't really want to remember. And just noticing that right up front, I don't really want to remember, but then noticing that we do. So inviting it in this way, just being very honest about it. So we're going to read a second poem, is one of mine, and I'm going to invite again two people to read this poem, Hypertrophy. It'll be showing up both in the chat bar and right here on the screen. And if you would please go ahead and raise your hand to read the poem. Anybody willing? We have Deborah, thank you, and one more reader, please. Barbara, thank you so much. And go ahead.
I can go first if you want.
Great, thank you, Barbara. And I think we lost our other person, Deborah. So
Sorry, I started. I didn't unmute myself.
oh, I see. Is that what? Okay, go ahead, Deborah. We'll jump on in again. And
So
the
sorry.
same thing this time, friends. Just the first time you're listening, and I'm just going to warn you that the screen's going to change, and you're going to get to read another screen after this one. So just two screens full of poem.
Hypertrophy, Rosemerry, Wahtola, Trommer. Perhaps it is like lifting weights, the way we learn to carry grief. At first, we cannot lift it at all, crushed as we are beneath it. But then, because to live, we must move. We move just the smallest measure. With our lungs, it so happens. And breath by breath, we lift grief the tiniest increment. That's how it begins. Oh, the muscle of stubbornness. Life longs to live through us even when we would rather give up. How strange that the only way to rebuild our strength is first by breaking down. The ache is great, everything tires, but eventually the body repairs what is damaged, relearns how to carry what at first seemed impossible, until we are familiar with the weight, and then even as we carry it, we find we can converse, even smile, even laugh.
And then go ahead and keep reading. This is part 2 of the poem.
It's like the way a mother's arms strengthen the longer she carries her child. It's like the way I once could barely lift the barbell. And then it was not that the weight became lighter, but that I developed until I could work with it better. Does the weight ever lessen? I don't know. But I do know it's easier now to carry the weight of grief. Sometimes I need to change the way I hold it in order to go on moving. Sometimes I am simply so humbled by grief, I must put the weight down, and all I can do is breathe. And so I do. So I do.
Thank you, Deborah.
Hypertrophy, Rosemerry Wahtola Trommer. Perhaps it is like lifting weights, the way we learn to carry grief. At first, we cannot lift it at all, crushed as we are beneath it. But then, because to live we must move, we move just the smallest measure. With our lungs, it so happens. And breath by breath, we lift grief the tiniest increment. That's how it begins. Oh, the muscle of stubbornness. Life longs to live through us, even when we would rather give up. How strange that the only way to rebuild our strength is first by breaking down. The ache is great, everything tires, but eventually, the body repairs what is damaged, relearns how to carry what at first seemed impossible, until we are familiar with the weight, and then, even as we carry it, we find we can converse, even smile, even laugh. It's like the way a mother's arms strengthen the longer she carries her child. It's like the way I once could barely lift a barbell, and then it was not that the weight became lighter, but that I developed until I could work with it better. Does the weight ever lessen? I don't know. But I do know it's easier now to carry the weight of grief. Sometimes I need to change the way I hold it in order to go on moving. Sometimes I am simply so humbled by grief, I must put the weight down, and all I can do is breathe. And so I do. So I do.
Thank you. Thanks, Barbara. And thanks to Deborah. You can't see the full poem on the screen, but you can read the full poem in the chat bar. And once again, I'm going to invite anyone just to bring up, what do you notice about the poem? Or what do you notice about yourself as you're responding to the poem? Again, the last poem that we read by James is one really about noticing what is our relationship with what it is we're grieving. And this one is really much more about what is our relationship with grief itself, which becomes, my goodness, its own relationship in a big way. Changes who we are. And Sarah.
I find myself really resonating with the end of it, wanting to set the weight down and breathe.
Thank you, Sarah. Yeah, I just want to put it down. I just want to breathe. Thank you. And Susan.
I wanted to tell you, Mary, of your poem this morning, Intergalactic Love. And I was thinking about the heaviness of grief, and I was thinking about body, because I always felt that I lived in intergalactic love and I was so light. And when Patricia died, I feel I want to be on Earth. I want to be Earth girl. And yet I don't want to forget my intergalactic love. So in a way, I feel like Pat must feel so light and I must feel so heavy. And we reversed. And I'm so curious.
Yeah.
So curious about melding intergalactic, interdimensional, multidimensional, earth and heaven. Bring heaven to earth. Bring earth to heaven.
Yeah. What a beautiful phrase. Again, you're giving writing prompts right and left, Susan. I just wonder about, just how you bring this curiosity to it, right? I'm so curious, you said. I'm so curious about how is it that we could have switched, that I could have been galactic and now I'm so earthbound, that you were earthbound and now you're galactic. And I just think that a poem is a great place to bring this curiosity. Yeah, thank you so much. Holly and then Barbara.
Rosemary, I think I've seen you do this in previous poems, but where you, what resonated with me was, does the weight ever lessen? I don't know. And then you go and you tell us what you do know. And I've always really appreciated that transition and that turn in a poem that brings some level of hope to even the hardest and the weightiest of poems. And I think you're exceptionally well at doing that.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Holly. And it makes me think of another idea for doing writing. What if you write it, just about grief, make a list of the things we don't know, and then make a list of things that we do, and just put them side by side. I don't know, I don't know, I don't know, but I do know, and I do know, and I do know. That might be a really interesting form for a poem too. I'm so grateful you brought this in also, Holly, because I think so often we think that to write a poem, we're supposed to know something. Oh my goodness, friends, I just want to promise you that if you could only write poems about what you know, I would have been done writing poems 20 years ago, right? But the fact is that we can actually, the poem loves when we bring what we don't know. The poem loves when we enter into mystery, when we enter into uncertainty. Poems love that. Why? Because life is full of uncertainty and not knowing. And all a poem wants to do is mirror what it is to be alive. It's a response to what it is to be alive. So bringing all your not knowing into a poem is a fabulous thing to do. Barbara, then Anne, and I'm guessing that's all we'll have time for.
Thank you. So I loved sometimes I need to change the way I hold it in order to go on moving. It brought me right back to your previous line about the mother carrying the baby. So I remember when my son was little, I'd get tired of holding him on this side, so I'd shift over to here, and then I could do whatever I needed to do with the other hand. And that, I'm about 3 years into my grief with my person, and that's how it feels. It's like, oh, okay, this just came up right now. Hold on, let me just shift it. Let me deal with it and then shift it over here so that I can, keep going to whatever it is that's coming up now. So yeah, that really stuck out for me. Thank you.
Yes, yes, thank you, Barbara. I mean, I think it's true. I think we continually learn how to carry it, physically and metaphorically also. Today it going back with today grief is right. Today grief is a stone. It's just something small in your pocket, or today grief is the boulder that just smashed you to the ground and flattened you, and there's not a chance you're going to move. I mean, it's so different from moment to moment, day to day. How do we carry it? And who helps us carry it sometimes? And Anne, this will be our last comment. Oh, you're on mute though, friend.
Um, Barbara and I are telepathic because she said exactly the same thing I was going to say regarding the impression of a mother carrying a child. And I just was touched by that because it's such a visceral impression, and that lasts. The other thing that I just wanted to comment was that I'm fascinated by what's going on right here about the discussion of grief, separate from, in so many ways, all the writing is in a way separate from the person who died. It's the process that we as grievers are left with. It's what we have to do, and that life pushes us towards this experience of detaching a little bit from the actual person, even though you carry it, to the experience of losing that person to death. That's just an impression that I had. So,
And yeah, thanks for bringing it back. I mean, I remember being so surprised when I realized that I didn't know that until I realized, oh, I write two kinds of poems, the one about my son or father or friend, and the one about my relationship with grief. And it surprised me. Why should it surprise me? But except that I hadn't known how integral a relationship with grief was to being a human. And now I do. Now I know what an enormous part it is of our humanity. Yeah. So friends, we'll do another writing, and I'm going to put in the chat bar right now, and also Jenna's about to put up on the screen a couple of ideas for writing out of this poem. One is to write a thank you letter to your body, honoring all that it has done for you as you grieve, and thanking it for all the ways it has helped you to carry your grief. So that's idea one, a thank you letter to your body. Or just be curious, what is the weight of grief today, and how do you carry it in your pocket, in every cell? How is it different from the weight of grief a month ago, or a year ago, or 10 years ago? Maybe begin with today, the weight of grief is. So these are just two ideas. Again, there's no right or wrong way to do this. In fact, you can only do it right, whatever you do, including not writing. We'll come back in 15 minutes, so at 31 after. And a little bit less than a minute. Welcome back, friend. And here's what will happen next. You have a choice. You will have an opportunity if you wish to go into a small group, and you'll be with one or two other people, and you'll have the chance to share something you wrote or to share about your process. But if that in any way doesn't feel safe or like something that you want to do, you don't have to. You can stay in the main room and we'll have a conversation about process, very similar to what we did after our first writing together. But if you do choose to go into the small group, here is what that's going to look like. You'll have 15 minutes. Each person will have 5 minutes, unless you're in a group of two, and then you'll have 7.5 minutes. And what each person will have the chance to do then is share maybe something you wrote tonight. Maybe you'll have time to read both of the things that you wrote tonight. Maybe you aren't comfortable sharing all of it, but there's just one part that feels like, okay, I could just share that part. Maybe you don't share anything you wrote, but you just talk about your process. Or maybe you say, you know what, I'm just here to listen to you. So all of these would be beautiful things if you are the speaker, those are your choices. If you are a listener, that's what you do. You're a listener. You get to listen to each other. And I want to promise you that the one thing that will not happen is no one is going to critique you. Where no one is going, and by the way, no one's going to praise you. The only thing, in fact, that we're going to say to each other after another person shares, the other person or people can say, thank you. You can say, thank you. And then, if you wish, you can ask them a question about their process. I'm going to point out that sometimes what happens is people say, oh, yes, that reminds me of, and they start talking about themselves. We're not going to do that tonight. We're going to keep the focus. If your job is listener, you keep your focus on the person who shared. And here are some questions. If there's time at all, you can ask them a question like, what surprised you about your writing or your process? Were you ever stuck? And what did you do then? Which part feels most true to you? Which part has the most juice? Which part was the most difficult to write? What did you notice about your own writing as you read it? What questions do you have for yourself? Or maybe you choose one of their own lines and you say, hey, tell me about that. So these are all, but you notice all of them keep the focus as a listener. Your job is to reflect back to the person who shared, not to help them write a better poem, no, but just to help them be more curious about their own process. So that's what it's going to look like. Before we go into small groups, if you stay in the main room, we're just going to talk about the process. This is what that process, though, is going to look like, though, is we're going to invite everyone to go into a small group. If you want to go, you accept. If you don't want to go, you don't accept. But that's going to mean it's going to take us just a little bit of time. Keisha and I will be working on making sure that nobody's left alone in a room. If you are alone in a room, don't worry, we'll get you into another room. So even if you're alone in a room, just for a little moment, please be patient. We're going to make sure you find your way into a room. After 5 minutes, Jenna's voice is going to come in and she's going to say, hey, it's time to change readers so you don't have to worry about being your own timer. And all right, that's what's going to happen next. So before we go into those small groups, though, I'm going to ask every single one of you to repeat these lines after me. And it's something I've adapted from Bill Plotkin of the Animas Institute. Are you willing to listen? with the ears of your heart. To the other voices of yourself speaking. What a beautiful promise to make to yourself and to each other. And with that, there will be an invitation for you to go into a small group. Go ahead and choose that. And if you're staying in the main room, friends, please just be a little patient as we move people around. And Keisha, I'm going to start from the bottom. Oh, fascinating. Keisha, it just looks like some of the rooms have 4 in them. I guess
Yeah,
that's
I think I had done, I don't remember how many I had, but there's at least 3 or 4 individuals in each room right now.
okay. Well, we're gonna let them work that out. Jenna, we might just give people 4 minutes each. Let's see, 3 minutes each. So can you just make an announcement to the rooms with just make an announcement to all the rooms that if they have rooms of 4, that we're going to be queuing for 4. And if they have rooms of 3, then they should look themselves at their timing for 5 minutes. Jenna,
Okay.
can you do that?
Yep. So start 4 minutes now.
So we'll actually give them 3 minutes each, 3.5 minutes each.
Okay. Thank you.
Are you making that announcement, sweetheart?
Oh, do you want me to make the announcement right now? I thought you wanted me to make it in 3 minutes.
Okay, yeah. Well, that'll be good. That'll
Okay.
be perfect.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So for the people who are still here in the main room, hi. Thank you for staying. I'm so glad you're here. We will get interrupted by Jenna jumping in. So just if you're in the middle of talking, I might ask you to pause, but then we'll just have to wait a moment. Does anyone have anything they want to bring up? Something about process, something you noticed about yourself tonight as you were writing, maybe a question that you have, or just an observation about yourself or about writing as a way to meet grief? Once again, I'll need you to use the reactions bar because I won't necessarily see if you're raising your hand. Aida, jump on in.
For someone who likes to talk, I'm reading myself and these things just is kind of fun. I just feel I usually take advantage of the small groups, but today I just feel so vulnerable that just being present is enough. And so it's interesting to honor that. It's not about, sometimes it's that I'm afraid of the unknown or revealing myself, and that's not what it is today. It's just wanting to be softer and not push. So that's what I want to say.
Beautiful, beautiful. So beautiful to give yourself that permission too, right? To know, usually I'm this kind of person, and today I just need to honor being present and not pushing.
Yeah, and I've done a lot of grief work, worked with Mirabai for a couple of years, and this is the first time that I could honestly, I just remember being honest. I am actually grieving my loss of my 3 teeth. So I am not grieving for or hiding that I'm grieving for something different or unusual. So that is also just it's very tender for me. You talk about how it somehow that process is definitely intimately related to both of these poems.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's lovely to have you as a sanctuary for these very tender feelings. You have helped me so much, and I want to just say that too, that What a treasure you are in my life.
Thank you, Aida. Thank you, friend. Jenna, how are you doing on timing, sweetheart? Okay.
10 seconds.
Okay, so Caroline, I'm going to just take a moment.
Gosh.
Okay, I'll broadcast now. Hi, friends. This is Jenna. If you have 3 or 4 people in your room, 4, it's time to change now. It's been 3 minutes, and 3, wing it. Thanks. Bye. Okay.
Good job, sweetheart. Caroline, you're on mute, friend.
Yeah, deep gratitude for holding this space. I can write things that I cannot write on my own in my own house, with my own by myself. I can't. So I'm really deeply grateful. I know the strength it takes to hold that big of a group. So deep gratitude. And I wanted to say that the prompts, did not really talk to me, but like many people said, I just put the pen down and I started writing, and it started pouring. And it started with, what the grief is, and then where it is in the body, and how I could not connect with it. And then it went into being grateful to the body, which is something very difficult for me. And then it went into the last sentence of your poem, where you say that all you can do is breathe. And sometimes I cannot breathe. So the fact that you wrote, all I can do is breathe, it just really deeply helped me. Deep gratitude. Thank you so much, Rosemary. You are doing such a healing work on this planet. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Caroline Morgan. And I want to say too, it's true. I think there's something different that happens when we come together. It is different than writing alone in a home. It is one thing that I think is so special about a gathering like this. We're not alone. We're in our separate rooms, but we're not alone. And then there is some energetic fuel, light. Yeah, thank you for honoring that. And Sarah, we might interrupt you. Just heads up.
Yeah. I appreciate earlier you naming this difference of sometimes writing about the person that's lost versus writing about the grief. And I'm finding myself curious about, I'm 7 months into an intense grief like nothing I've experienced before. And there's something about the grief that wants to be seen and expressed and like metaphors to share with the world that feels I'm curious if it's like, is any emotion, if it's felt this big, have that response or demand or call? Or is there something here about grief in particular? So I'm just sitting with that. If you have thoughts, I welcome them.
I just think that's a really great question. That is a really great question. Is it grief in particular? Is it, I think, could that also be true of shame? Right? Could that also be true of anger? I do think that there's something about these enormous feelings, and when they are so up and so present, and they will not be seen, right? So this is, I think, part of it. Yeah. Thank you. But boy, Sarah, there could be so many right answers for that question. Jenna.
Yes. Yes, it's time. Thank you so much. Thanks, guys. Hi, friends. This is Jenna. It has been 3 more minutes, so please switch speakers. Thank you. Okay.
And Beth.
I was interested that Sarah just talked about how you separated the idea of writing about a person that you loved versus the grief. I was really surprised. I don't have a problem writing about the memory of my son, and I even wrote about a really, really tough thing. But then when it came to the grief, it's like I have a hard time understanding what it even is. And um and I feel like it's doing something to me, but I have no idea what it is. So to me, it's like two different things, which that's helpful because I didn't really know that before. So I thank you for that.
Isn't that it? We just don't know. We just don't know until we do know. And even when we do know, we still don't know. Right? I love how you say there's still this mystery, right? You still don't really understand this. And this, so one possibility is just to, we called this program the mystery of grief, right? It is mysterious. It is so mysterious. And to let ourselves show up with that not knowing, I don't know, and just to let ourselves be drawn into that on a page and to be, what don't I know? Just maybe make a whole poem of questions. What do you have to teach me, grief? That'd be an interesting poem. Yeah, thank you. And Catherine.
Hi, Rosemary, and thank you. I was noticing about writing the first time that I was sort of able to touch, the love. I guess what I want to say is that I find it so interesting about this process. And for me, it's been a little over 5 years now. And you asked about being thankful for your body. That was something we could write about. And I have so many days where I felt like, I'm so grateful to this body. I'm so grateful to this body that has carried this grief. Like I have felt that's so deeply in my bones. And then you pose the question today, and I'm like, I'm not very thankful for my body. And I'm noticing that I never really was that person before. Like this happened. Days came, I had happy and sad and all the feelings, all the emotions, and they just came and went with ease, no questions, no, you know, it's just interesting to me to see how since then it feels broken. You know what I mean?
I do.
Yeah, I don't know if other people feel that way. I'm sure they do. Just, it's like you're changing and it's, I'm sorry, I guess I'm not really able to articulate what I'm feeling about it, just that I've noticed today.
I think you are, and I think too, I just heard two possibilities for you to do your own writing exploration of it, right? And one of them is it's changing.
Yeah.
And another would be I'm broken or it's broken. And just wondering, writing into that, right?
Yeah.
How did it break? When did it break? Why? Oh, or just noticing it is broken and just see what happens.
Yeah.
Thank you, Catherine.
Thank you too. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Catherine. Yeah. I feel I think you're right on point with that. I'm gonna make my announcement. Hi, friends. It's been 3 minutes. Please change speakers. Thank you.
And Amber.
Hi, thank you. This is a strange question, perhaps. Maybe they all have an element of strangeness, but I'm wondering if the grief that one feels for losing a part of themselves is the same grief that if we address it in a similar way to the grief of losing an external person. I just became a mom. I have this beautiful 8-month-old baby, and I'm thrilled about that. But I also am feeling the loss of a part of myself and a grief around a part of myself that no longer I have the same access to, no longer have the same relationship to, and just wondering how to be in grief.
Yeah, that's really beautiful, Amber. What a gorgeous question, right? Are these griefs similar? Are they, and I think what a beautiful question to bring to a page is just that wonder about it. I would tell you, I mean, my intuition about this is that all griefs somehow are threads in one cloth, right? That and every grief is so different, and every grief is different from moment to moment and day to day, and the way you feel it'll be different than the way someone else feels it, and the grief about this sense of yourself, and the grief about a beloved or someone who's not beloved who you're grieving, and the grief we have about the earth, and these are all different, but also, and this is why I think these poems that are just about what is our relationship with grief, and by that, in this moment, what is my relationship with grief today, can be so powerful, right? Because they are so different and in a way so similar. Yeah, thank you. And Judith.
Hello, thank you, everyone. I just wanted to say that pretty much everything that everyone has said today has resonated with me on some level, and I thank you all so much for sharing it. The conflicting emotions that have come out for me are just, I have a t-shirt and it says, "I need a hug, but don't touch me." And I just feel like that all the time. It's like I have these needs and I want to reach out, but I don't. Part of me really doesn't. And possibly comes from my mother died in March, and a couple of people that I told about it reacted in a very unpleasant way, which made me hesitant, of course, to share that with anyone else. So I've been keeping things inside, and just wondering how to go forward with that. But this workshop has been wonderful for dealing with that dichotomy of the I need a hug, but don't touch me.
Judith,
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you. And the paradox is such a big part of grief, right? Mark Nepo has a poem that begins, "Everything is so beautiful and I am so sad."
Yeah.
And I feel like, I have a poem that begins, "I want a word that means okay and not okay." Right? I mean, there's so much paradox in grief. And the fact that we do meet it all at once, that it isn't separated into these separate, nope, you get to want a hug and absolutely refuse a hug at the same time.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And a poem loves paradox because life is full of paradox. So, to write, he is dead. Is it true? No, he is alive forever. Right? These two things are also this, they're so the same, right? They're both so true. The poems love that. And Heidi.
Hi, I echo the thanks to you and to everyone. I thought it was interesting for me. I wrote about the body, but I actually found that the contrast of a poem about the person and a poem about my relationship with grief really got mixed together as I started to write. And maybe partly because of my life partner, right? Best friend, but somebody, and I thought of this word of reminders, and it's funny because it has the word mind and not body or remembering in it. But I think that I look at my hand and I remember my hand in his, right? Or I brush my forehead and I'm reminded of how he used to like stroke my forehead to soothe me at times. And yet, the body has also been a reminder to me of, oh, slow down, right? Like I fainted. I wasn't taking good enough care of myself. Or I can feel, the cry coming and do I need to let it out? Or, right, it's a reminder of my grief and my needs as a grieving person. And yet it's also a reminder, it allows me to move into this world that is so beautiful, and that I'll come to the paradox, right? Like to see the tulip, and simultaneously remember seeing it last spring with Joe, and the beauty of that memory and the way it pierces me that I can't do it with him again now. It's the body is an entry into all of that for me. So thank you for that prompt. But I found it combined the two types all in one.
Heidi, I love that you bring this in, right? The body is the doorway, right? And also how it all gets blurred. How it all gets blurred. We might say, oh, well, there's two things. And then we're like, well, except when they're the same thing. Yes, yes, I say yes to what you say. Crystal, I see your hand up, but we are all back, and we have only these 5 minutes left. So I'm so sorry we're not going to get to your question or comment, Crystal. But what I am going to do, and maybe this will fit in, Crystal, I'm not sure. I am going to invite you all right now to take a moment. And by the way, welcome back, all the small group people. Welcome back. I'm going to invite you to take a moment to think about what are you taking away from our time together. And be just kind of selfish about it. Maybe it's a word. Maybe it's a line from a poem. Maybe it's a line from your own poem. Maybe an experience you had or something someone else said. What are you taking away? Maybe write it down. Write it down on your own paper. You could write it into the chat bar and share it with other people. And also, if anybody is willing to, I would be so grateful if anyone would go ahead and use the reactions bar to raise your hand and maybe share with the rest of the group. What is something that you're taking away? And Susan, thank you for jumping in.
I love the writing prompt. I don't know, because that is kind of where I live a lot. And I think, and I'm that's one thing that I honor about how I grieve is that I don't know. And I don't have answers about lots of things. And it's just a reminder to me that feels really rich for me. So I take that. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Just writing into what we don't know.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Holly says, don't be afraid to sing. And Nelanie says, befriending your grief is what I'm taking away. Hillary says, connecting with others about grief in all its forms and flavors and feelings. Jenna says, understanding community. And Ginny says, sometimes I need to change the way I hold it. Beatrice says, the beauty of each person's writing, encouragement to keep writing, trusting the impulse to come after asking, what would nourish me today? There's a door to a world where my beloved is no longer, and revelation. It's so good to be with other grievers. How brave and honest everyone is here. I love being in community. I'm in awe. I'm so comforted by all of you. Grief is a safe place to be. What an astonishing discovery. Grief is a universal experience, something we all experience daily to different degrees. We can develop the unique strength to carry the weight of grief. Encouraged to make the space to be with feelings and express them without giving into distraction. Putting pen to paper and trust. Isn't trust such a big part of it? Breathing, community. You can only do it right. Some ways grieving is not determined by time. More clarity with the messiness of the inner experience. These are so beautiful, friends. Thank you so much. You'll get that chat bar to you in the package that you'll have tomorrow with all of the poems that we shared and the writing invitations and the recording for tonight. And I thought we would close with the same way we began. I'm going to invite you to sing this little Hafez Danny Ladinsky song with me, and I'll sing it and you can sing back, call and responsively. If you don't like singing, for heaven's sakes, don't worry, you don't have to. But I'm guessing no one can hear you where you are, so I'll just sing a phrase and feel free to sing it back. How did the rose? How did the rose ever open its heart? Ever open its heart? How did the rose ever open its heart? And give to the world all its beauty. It felt the encouragement of light against its being. Otherwise, we all remain too frightened. How did the rose ever open its heart? and give to the world all its beauty. Thank you, friends. Thank you for bringing the encouragement of your light to each other. I want to thank Jenna and Evermore. I want to thank Keisha. And I want to thank every single one of you who showed up tonight, however you showed up. Thank you. We'll be doing this again in 2 months right here with Evermore. And tomorrow night, we're doing a special program with Reimagine that will be me and James Cruz, who wrote the other poem. And James and I will be doing a special program for Bereaved Mother's Day for people who are grieving mothers or who are grieving a child or mother-like figure, a grandmother, a granddaughter, any variation in that spectrum. So we welcome you to that tomorrow, and they just put that into the chat bar. You can also find it on my website. Thank you, friends.
Thank you, Rosemerry.
See you in July in Vermont.
That's wonderful. I'll look forward to seeing you there.
Thank you. Take care.
Is that on your website also?
That one is July in Vermont is